quote unquote, against. However, there's the counter argument that he puts in there in terms of being cautious with our American partners, given their recent, restrictions, visa restrictions. Do you feel, are you of the position that the government of Bermuda needs to put this before a referendum, but first give the people, and I just read it out, Minister Alexa Lightman made it clear that there's public consultation, as there is the opportunity for people to be a part of the decision making. Do you feel that has been done by the government as it relates to CARICOM, where they have done public consultation on the pro and con for full membership into CARICOM?
Yeah, we need to have public consultation because people need to know what people have been doing to turn them against things like CARICOM and independence, right? Black Bermudians have been trained to say no to CARICOM, no to independence, right? I've been trained to do that. So people like Faye know that if
we'll say no first before we do any homework. But you make a very good point. You've made a very good point and revelation here to many, I'm sure, that Bermuda, there's Bermuda business all throughout the Caribbean, and starting with the Gibbons. I'm going to call it the Gibbons Empire. It's throughout the Caribbean. The Gibbons Empire is throughout the Caribbean, and that we do know. Yeah, appreciate you, sir. Appreciate you, brother.
It started with Look, yeah. Okay, thanks.
No, I appreciate that you triggered something there. I appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. I want to as I indicated, I want to take it into the second part of this here. And I want you to listen to Professor Klaus Dodd, right? And I see the lines lighting up. Callers, just pause a little. Save your questions. Save your arguments. If you have statements about the CARICOM, they fit right into this particular subject matter. Now, I'm setting this up. This is Professor Klaus Dodd, right? Jonathan Bow, assistant news editor, January 17th, did an interview with him. And the Middlesex University interim faculty dean, he shared some great insight. And of course, when you listen to the events of today, his article was spot on in terms of the position that the United States has decided to take. I mean, that they threatened to take. And I'll just say this here, with the argument of the U.S. wanting to, I used to call it capturing Greenland. If they go in militarily, people, that's your first act. Well, we've already first had an act of war in Venezuela, but I'll say this will be, if the United States goes into Greenland militarily, force, whatever, occupation, whatever, it is an act of war against, quote unquote, a NATO member. That opens up a whole different theater of war. I'm going to play the interview. Listen up. Hold on. There we go. Here we go. Where is it to? Do that? What happened? There's so many people.
Big real estate deal. Everyone seemed to laugh it off. I think it's clear to say that no one is laughing now. How high are the stakes here?
Good evening. The stakes are incredibly high. I think when that offer was made in 2019 and Trump was rebuffed, and if you remember, the invitation to Denmark was terminated, I think there was a mistaken feeling that this is a man who won't secure a second presidential term, and everyone thought that the issue would just die away. I think when President Trump won the second election in 2024, it was obvious this is very much back on the agenda. And he's been very, very consistent, which is in the sense of thinking of the United States as a dominant Western hemispheric power. And he's made it very clear that he thinks Canada, Greenland, the Panama Canal, the Caribbean, including Venezuela, are part of that grand design.
Well, so a move to take Greenland by force would most certainly be illegal under international law, but given what we've just seen in Venezuela, that might not matter much to the White House. So how likely do you think that the U.S. could actually move here to take Greenland? Could this really happen?
I don't think President Trump is that bothered about international legal frameworks and the kind of norms associated with the UN Charter around self-determination, territorial integrity. I think that ship, if you will, has well and truly sailed. I think what you're hearing is essentially two or three options. One option would be is that the United States puts a proposal to the people of Greenland directly with a very large cash-based inducement, which goes along the lines of, come and join us in a free association. The second is to say to Denmark, if you remember, President Truman in 1946 offered you $100 million worth of gold. We're prepared to offer you whatever the sum might be in US dollars or gold for outright purchase. And then, of course, the third, the most outlandish, which we shouldn't rule out, is some kind of direct annexation with all the consequences that would follow, clearly not only for the Kingdom of Denmark, but also for NATO cohesion. And we'd be well and truly past that point where the contemporary international legal order, I think, would be recoverable.
Let's talk about that possibility you were just mentioning, buying Greenland rather than invading it. Is that feasible in your view? And does Denmark even have the authority to sell Greenland?
Well, that's a really good point, because one thing that's worth understanding is that when President Truman raised this idea of purchasing Greenland in 1946, the world was in a very different place. Denmark, for example, had been occupied by Nazi Germany. There was no doubt that Greenland was a remote colony. Fast forward many decades later, you've got Greenland as an integral part of the Kingdom of Denmark with high degrees of autonomy, so much so that we talk quite rightly of a government of Greenland and Greenlandic wishes and interests. So it would cause a cataclysmic split within the Kingdom of Denmark if such a purchase was ever contemplated. But I simply make the point, there is historical precedent for the United States making an approach based on a purchase.
Why is Greenland so important to Donald Trump? You know, the White House has called it a national security priority. Why does Trump seem so insistent that the U.S. must have it?
I think for three or four reasons. First things first, we really need to be clear that whilst, I might be a professor of geopolitics, I think a lot of this is about ego politics, not geopolitics. So this is a president who wants to make America great again. And in making America great again, he thinks he will be one of the greatest American presidents. And he's been very, very clear that this could be, I think, something akin to the Trump purchase. You recall the Louisiana purchase of the 19th century. Here's an opportunity to acquire a territory 3 times larger than Texas and truly to make America great again in terms of expanding its territorial footprint. That's number one. Number two, Greenland does have mineral potential, particularly around rare earths. And everybody, I'm sure, understands well now that minerals of all sorts, including copper, let alone cobalt, lithium, are going to be absolutely essential, not least if you want to build AI data centers, which are also very energy intensive. Thirdly, Donald Trump wants to keep China out of the North American Arctic, and both Greenland and Canada have had over the last decade and a half consistent approaches from Chinese companies, and the last thing he wants to see is China get that foothold. The fourth thing I would say, I think this is part of a grand bargain between Russia and the United States, which goes along the lines of, you let us take Greenland, we'll cut a good deal for you in Ukraine, and by the way, if you want to seize Svalbard, which is a Norwegian territory in the high north, we won't stand in your way because we understand that is integral to your sense of, in this case, bastion defense. So I think, to be honest, it's all of those. And then the final thing, I'm afraid, which is very uncomfortable for Europeans, Donald Trump, I think, wants to punish us as Europeans for free riding on the US security umbrella, and he will cause chaos within the European states, and you'll see that the European response will not be as robust as you might have thought it would have been given the scale of the threat.
I do want to talk about the European response, but you mentioned there Russia and China, and I wanted to ask you to fact check something that President Trump has been saying. He claims that Greenland is covered with Russian and Chinese ships. Is that true?
Well, I think that's a little bit of a rhetorical flourish. However, it is also true to say that China has become a polar power of some note. China and Russia, as a consequence of the sanctions imposed upon Russia following the annexation of Crimea in 2014, have worked more closely with one another, and some of that undoubtedly includes joint aerial and maritime patrols in various parts of the Arctic. China does have ambitions in the Arctic Ocean, and Russia, of course, as recent events involving the oil tanker siege that you highlighted just a moment or two ago, Russia does have a very active submarine presence in the North Atlantic, and that inevitably involves the waters off Greenland. So all of that, I think, you can take as read, if you will, but that doesn't mean that Denmark has been delinquent in Donald Trump's terms in terms of defense and security. And really, since 1951, Denmark and the United States have had a defense agreement which gives the United States considerable latitude to operate in Greenland. And they could have come back to Denmark and said, we need to look again at this agreement. We need to upscale our military presence. They haven't done that. They've gone literally straight to the nuclear option, if you will, which is we want Greenland.
We only have a short time left, but I wanted to ask you about the European response. You know, many countries have spoken out in defense of Greenland. Do you think that these countries can do anything to prevent Donald Trump from making a move to take Greenland?
We as Europeans, whether we're part of the European Union or not, it doesn't matter. We as Europeans are in a desperately difficult situation. And what you're going to see is fairly weak-worded joint statements from a select number of European leaders saying we stand behind Greenland and Denmark in that hour of need. And yet, I note, my own government here in the UK was very quick to champion its collaboration with the United States when it performed the interception of the Bella 1, the Shadow Fleet oil tanker, and made it very clear the UK saw the United States as its most important security partner. I think that gives you a clue as to how all of this is going to play out. And a final reminder is that the United Kingdom has a number of territories in the Western Hemisphere, and there must be a concern that if the United States acts against Greenland, where else might it act, given the British and the French have overseas territories not that far away from the continental United States.
Okay, we'll have to leave it there. Klaus Dodds, Professor of Geopolitics at Royal Holloway, University of London. Thanks so much for joining us here on France 24.
Territorial footprint.
Now, when you listen to that, that's in Greenland. Take that and look at the intersectionality of that with CARICOM, the state of CARICOM right now in the Caribbean Sea, Venezuela, United States. Here is Greenland, who's not independent, okay? They're not independent. They're really more sovereign free association. And when you listen to the arguments that the discussion that we were having earlier in terms of national security, protectionism, what it would mean independent versus sovereign free association. Here is a country, Greenland, some autonomy. Its national security really is that protection by Denmark. But when you listen to Professor Klaus Dodd and the threat of this to the rest of Europe, even the UK, and I don't know if you heard it, if you got it clearly, as he said, UK have numerous territories overseas. Bermuda, you're one. France has numerous territories overseas. Yeah? So, as Claus says, and I'll say this again, I'll read it. He said, what stops an offer to Bermuda for a closer U.S. relationship? He says, an offer to Bermuda for a closer U.S. relationship was not or is not outside the realm of possibility. If Trump were to become worried about Russian and Chinese activity around America, Bermuda, around America, you are around America, here in the North Atlantic. Yeah? So, these things are not impossible. We're going to get into the deeper conversation, make the connection. Good night, you're on all fronts.
Yes, good evening, Dr. Lou. And Dr. Lou, from listening, and I've been doing a lot of listening to all what's been coming, I would say, concerning CARICOM.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're pulling the cart before the horse, you know? Mm-hmm. Or the horse before the cart, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And we're being influenced by all of these outside of Bermuda opinions, like what you just put on the air just now and before that. And
is it that we're being influenced, or is it that we have to, it is these types of foreign affairs conversations that we need to be attuned to?
Basically, that's what it is.
Yeah.
To me, it's gossip.
Is what?
In the sense.
You said gossip?
Yeah, I would call it gossip due to the fact.
Oh no! I can't. We don't gossip. We don't gossip. We don't do gossip on all fronts.
I'm not saying they do gossip. I'm talking about.
No. I'm playing it, and I'm telling you, it's not gossip. Those are facts. I deal with facts. So
those facts.
I deal with facts.
There, right?
Those are facts right now.
Okay, those are facts.
Yeah.
Those are facts those facts are outside sources facts. It's nothing to do directly with Bermuda.
That's what you think? Okay.
No, yes, because, the reason why I'm saying this, right? Now, from what I've heard from what I've been hearing from the Honorable Minister, Miss Lightfoot,
Right.
who is the person that is responsible for making these type of decisions, or even who is responsible now for gathering the information and which has not yet been presented to us here in Bermuda at all. None of it. Well, we are just in the midst of saying we're looking at how it would affect us in joining CARICOM. And this information in which that we need to make a decision on has not been gathered yet. And once that information has been gathered, it will be presented to the people of Bermuda in all of its context and all of its facts, for us to then say to the ministry or to the government that we think it's a good thing, or we don't like this or we don't like that. Something in what they may presenting we may not like. We may want to we may want to only accept so much of this or so much of that or whatever when it comes to joining this particular CARICOM. We will join, but we're not accepting this. We will join, but we're not accepting that. We have that option to be able to do that. Again, like I always say, we are the oldest British colony in all of the colonies. We are number one. We are America's number one ally. If it weren't for Bermuda and our historical background of who we are and how we helped George Washington to become independent from England, it was our gunpowder in which that was presented to George August 14, 1775, for him in order to be who they are today.
Let me ask you this here.
Okay, let me finish with this. It was also that letter in which George Washington, you go down to the library and grab one. It's also that letter in which George Washington presented to Bermuda in the sense of the embargo in which he put on us and all of that to be able to not leave me. We were British and he was going to fight the British. And then he sent back with another letter that I would lift the embargo if he was to give me gunpowder. That particular letter is the reason why our dollar, our Bermuda pound and dollar, has been switched to the equalness of the American dollar.
That only has value here in Bermuda.
But all I'm saying is that, again, we pulled ourselves up by our own bootstraps. We are the oldest British colony, and where we are today is Bermuda people, black, white, pink, blue, whatever color you want to name yourself or whatever you want to come under. These are the people who actually put Bermuda in the position that we are right now. Not CARICOM, not all these
I'm going to put something into your argument that I think...
I'm just saying we should wait to hear what the minister is going to present to us in order for us to make these types of decisions.
Let me ask you this here. Let me ask you this here, because there are some things in your argument that is conflated to me. But let me ask you this here, and I get the historiography of Bermuda's value. Of Bermuda's value to the U.S. Government. When we look at, during the Revolution, right? We know of that history. With that knowledge, with that historiography that you gave there just now, some of that chronology, which opens up and supports, and I'm going to ask you, with what you stated just now, you would agree that Bermuda acts as a critical, strategical, logical, intelligence gathering anchor in the North Atlantic, especially for United States, given that history, right?
Yes.
So hold on. Because you also said we give too much attention to the gossip or the influence of the outside. Yeah?
Because it's a conversation.
Okay. It's a conversation. But you just gave some facts that speaks to the reality of Bermuda's key strategic North Atlantic positioning.
Yes.
Right? To not just what we see going on in Greenland,
And
but also what we see going on in the Caribbean.
yes.
Yeah? So you would agree, Dan, and I have to share this, that in that historiography, I mean, no submarines were in track during that time, but when we look at the world wars, they were. Right now, Bermuda is somewhat partnering with the rest of the world in a $10 trillion global transaction. Yeah? With the cybersecurity undersea infrastructure. Yeah? Now, I'm sharing this to say,
And there's more.
I'm sharing this to say, this is to counter your argument about other outside interferences in our affairs.
It's not interference, it's a discussion.
Okay, discussion.
It's a conversation.
Okay.
You know, they ain't interference, nothing about.
Well, in this discussion, you can call it discussion, interference. Well, you made a statement.
I mean, that's all it is.
Outside interference
from the minister herself in defense of what is going to be presented.
Here's my point. Here's my point to your statement, and part of this here is I'm making the point of triangulating. Here's Bermuda. We got this issue of full membership into CARICOM. We're associate members. Right now, we see the global events that are going on between United States and Greenland. We have Greenland in the upper north. Hold on, the Greenland in the upper North Atlantic with the United States, and then United States to the south of us in the Caribbean Sea. Here's Bermuda. We're in the triangle. Let's put Bermuda in this triangle.
The triangle,
I'm calling the triangle of Bermuda, Caribbean. Of course, the United States is in there in this picture, in this scenario. United States is central to this here. My point is that we are every bit a part of the global politics of this here, directly and indirectly. Full membership into CARICOM doesn't and will not divorce us from any international conflict, even with what we saw going on in Venezuela. Bermuda is directly involved in that.
But that's where we're pulling the cart before the horse. Right now, we are a member. Now, right now, the discussion is becoming a full member of this particular group of people who is actually younger than us. Don't, respect elders. And in defense of all the rest of the colonies, they are the youngest. We are the oldest. Okay, keep that in mind, people. And again, in defense of what I'm saying is that we are now discussing or looking at the reasons and why we should become or not become a full membership. This information is now being gathered, the facts in which of what it would mean to become a full member has not been presented to the people yet by the minister. They have already said, the government and the minister who is responsible has already said to us as Bermudians, this information is being gathered now for a presentation for this, before we even decide what we're going to be doing as far as becoming a full membership. It would also come to the general public with town hall meetings or whatever it is that is needed to be able to bring this information forward to the general public before any decision is being made. This is the way I'm understanding what I'm seeing in the paper and what I've been hearing from the ministries and everybody that's involved.
So from your position, you concur and accept the position that the public is being consulted and will be a part of the decision making.
Well, the public has been consulted on the procedure in which that the minister is taking now in order to bring forth information to present to the public. We're talking about making decisions on why we should do this and do that without even hearing what it is going to be a full CARICOM membership and what it entails. You have this right, you have that right, or they have this right, or whatever. We don't know nothing about that. I haven't seen anything in the paper. I haven't seen anything come from the ministry. All I'm hearing coming from the ministry is that they are gathering information in essence in order to present to the public. Once they've gathered what is needed to present to us, that's when we would have a decision or hearing directly from them of what it is that we will become if we become a full membership.
All right.
And then it's up to us, the people, to be able. I mean, come on, we're making all these decisions.
Okay. That's and hold on, and you get that's part of that situation in terms of the CARICOM. You've made that clear. That that the minister right now. Hold on. The minister right now is gathering all that she needs together to bring before the Bermudian people. She's going to be very transparent with what she's gathered and put before the Bermudian people for discussion and decision making and input from the Bermudian people that will result in a decision of full membership or not.
Or not.
Now, going forward to the other side, when we look at Greenland and the relevance of the old, as you say, right, Bermuda, right, that oldest relation as the colony that we are, do you see that historical identity of being the oldest playing a significant role, if at all? Let's say the United States decides to militarily go in and annex Greenland. Yeah.
When it comes to
what do you see? What role, if at all, in a long term understanding, as you articulated, because what you articulated speaks to Bermuda's strategic location, the logistics of Bermuda, historically to America, and why we've always had this relationship. Do you see that same historical, current, present, strategic, critical, strategic, logistical, geographical location of Bermuda playing the same type of role that it did in its history with America during the so-called revolution, to the current international tension that we have going on right now between.
Exactly. Now, I mean, I would have brought this up earlier, but in the same area of the title on which that Bermuda holds as being the rich capital of the world, if you break it, we fix it. Okay? The Freedom Tower ran up because of the infrastructure of the city of Hamilton, Bermuda. Okay? And the California fires, the oil rigs, I don't know what it is that you got out there is registered here in Bermuda. And they said this is why you have Brookfield, Pie in the Sky down the old Front Street, because they want to be a part of that. And when it comes to insurance, I don't give a sugar what you got. If it's a hybrid, we have the capital and the infrastructure of this country to take care of the rest of the world, to make sure the rest of the world is covered for whatever they want to get into. We did have Russia on our board, but of course, the fact that they are in the position that they are now.
Let me ask you this, and I want to take the next caller. I want to ask you this, and I want to take the next caller.
That in the sense that due to the fact of who we really are in the infrastructure of the country, Bermuda has a very important role into the rest of the world, period.
Mm-hmm.
And that needs to be taken into serious consideration, if they want to see the rest of the triangle start moving along. But anyhow, in the sense of what I'm saying is that all of that needs to be, again, we pulled ourselves up by our own bootstraps. Where we are today is because of what I said. Black, white, pink, and blue, whatever color you want to call yourself, these are the people that made Bermuda who they are today, and we sell brains and common sense. Thank you very much.
I'll ask you this closing question. With that position that you take,
yes,
right?
Sorry.
With that position and the position or the argument put forward by Klaus Dodd that because of our history, I'm placing in your argument the history that we have with America and the oldest colony, all of that. I'm using all of that, recognizing all of that you've stated, right? Would you agree that Bermuda too should and has reason for concern that what is taking place with Greenland and United States can also be Bermuda's faith?
No.
Okay.
I don't see it at all.
All right.
Due to the fact of this, in the sense of, number one, what is it? What they want to do? Come and take over. What do you want to do? Come in and take over the infrastructure of our city for doing what we have been doing out there for the world for the last 20, 30, 40 years?
No. The point is. Keep in mind. No. Remember. We don't have that, but we have. Hold on.
I'm listening.
What we have is strategic location.
Yeah.
And so, because strategically we are well positioned, the logistics of where we are, the role that we have always played in terms of intelligence gathering, going way back to the founding days, as you say.
We had a piece of that. But the Enigma machine, we had a piece of that.
Bermuda played its role in terms of the Cold War. I'm giving you the chronology that supports some of the things that you're saying. Without you saying it. Historically and currently, bottom line, Bermuda acts as a monitoring station for the North Atlantic. That's what we were. Now, when the U.S. bases bailed out, when the U.S. bases left in '95, right, that presence of America on the island left, but America didn't. But America didn't leave entirely because international business, which is a strong American influence, it's global.
Yeah, world, not just America.
Yeah, no, I said not just America.
Worldly.
Yeah, it's global. It's global.
Yeah.
The rest of the world is all here. Is all here in Bermuda.
Yeah.
Right. So you can accept that in this current climate internationally that we all face, and the historiography that you gave, that Bermuda still serves as a historically and currently key strategic logistical
number one ally. Don't forget that.
Right? To monitor events across the North Atlantic.
I'll put it this way. If you break it, we fix it.
Okay.
So you can go around the world and do whatever you're going to do, but in the end, you know what it's going to be? Who's covering it?
All right.
We are.
All right.
Okay, you can go
we are in terms of the role that Bermuda plays in terms of risk management and insurance and economics.
And which that exactly, in which that we play in the sense of looking out for the rest of the world for whatever they want to get themselves in. They want to be down there in California burning up. They want to be bombed, blowing up the trade tower buildings, whatever it is. It's the infrastructure, the brains and common sense, which was created in the islands of Bermuda.
All right, my brother.
That takes control of those types of things.
All right.
And we need to be respected worldwide for what we're out here doing. And we're not causing any trouble. You get in trouble, you come here, you sit around the round table.
Got you.
And up goes the Freedom Tower.
All right.
Okay?
Got you. All right. Spirited conversation, debate, whether you agree or disagree. Here's the facts. Here are the facts. We have to the south, CARICOM, and we have a relationship and partnership. Please hold, caller. We have in the North Atlantic, we have Greenland. And central to all of this, of course, that has everyone hyped, edge, whatever, for whatever reason. Call it attributed to white supremacy. Some will say, some are even, they're not dismissing the relevance of white supremacy. They're really calling it now because it's being headed by Trump. The term that is out there right now is what? White male malignant narcissism. Yeah. Go ahead, caller.
Dr. Lewis, two quick points.
Yeah.
Number one, the caller before you paid the tape. He kept saying that we can do economic business with the island. But then he started talking about Gibbons Company and they do business. That's the difference. Business is business. If Gibbons Company's doing business on there, they're buying most of the supplies and stuff from the United States and they're selling them down in the island. That's business.
Yeah, but so what stops from what's I don't get
economic trade. We do not have any economic trade with the island.
Okay.
We do not have anything to trade.
Okay. But we can there is an argument to say we can trade do trade in terms of our intelligence, our knowledge management around issues pertinent to business, economics, global affairs, risk management, insurance, what's going on there that they have versus if we are considered the risk management capital of the world, we have something coming from Bermuda that could be and is of value to the Caribbean and its partners, our partners too, across the African continent, who they're doing partnerships with too. So when you say trade, trade is also not just in bauxite, zinc, minerals, as you hear being discussed, because that's one of the other issues that's going on that makes Greenland so valuable. No, we don't have that. But we do have a certain business capital that could be of value. And I think that's what the caller was getting at, that hold on here. We have a Gibbons empire down in the Caribbean doing business. And so can other Bermudian businesses. We have that to trade. Our skill set, our intelligence, our business knowledge.
Well, that's sort of hard to put together. My second point, Greenland, is the way I see it. Donald Trump goes in there, has troops go into Greenland. That's going to be the start of World War III.
That's and you're right, because that's what they're saying. They're saying, and if you listen to with the tape,
and Bermuda,
with the tape, they said, if Greenland, if they put up some cash because that was done before historically, right? But it sounds like Trump is saying that if you don't give it to me, I'm going to take it.
Yep.
Because it's about protecting America's national security first.
Right, but he's not going to be successful. That'll be the start of World War III.
And it will be. It is actually. You're absolutely correct, because they talk about this. They say it would represent the first act toward a world war.
Yep.
Right.
And
because
Bermuda,
you would have attacked one of your. Although United States says. Under Trump, they say so, in terms of divorcing itself from NATO, but technically it hasn't. But it would have initiated an attack on a fellow NATO member.
Yeah, all of that would matter. They would go to war.
Yeah.
But then it comes to Bermuda.
But it brings all of the rest of Europe in it, and that's what Claus Dodd was getting at. That. This is something that Europe has to reconcile with.
Yeah, but Bermuda, we would become sort of obsolete in the sense of they'll be so busy fighting each other, there wouldn't be no concern to say what's Bermuda doing. We can do this with Bermuda.
You think so?
We would basically
not in a world war. Not in a world war. That means we all better be paying attention.
Yes, we'll be paying attention.
So it's not that Bermuda. It's not that Bermuda. Others are drawing into it.
We won't be fighting or anything like that.
Well, Bermuda may not, like I said, Bermuda may not be fighting. But again, Bermuda, given its geopolitical positioning here in the North Atlantic and the role that Bermuda has played and does play in terms of the whole maritime strategies, no. We're positioned. The U.S. had bases and they were monitoring. We are in a strategic place in the North Atlantic.
That's a slingshot towards the United States.
Say it again?
Bermuda, the Europeans may use Bermuda as a slingshot to pivot here, bringing arms and stuff here to use against the United States.
Well, maybe not. Remember, I'm playing an advocate here, not an advocate, but some say devil's advocate. But the devil's advocate of this statement is that Bermuda, let's just say Bermuda, or let's say United States does to Greenland, does to Bermuda what it says it's going to do to Greenland. And remember, what I'm going on Claus's argument that there's no guarantee. If Trump does it to Greenland, what says he won't do it to anyone else?
Exactly. And
he's already made the statement to the south of us. That's what he's doing with Venezuela.
He's not going to have that opportunity. Once he attacks Greenland, they're going to put a stop to him. He's not going to be successful. He will fail.
Who will put a stop to him?
The Europeans.
All right.
All the Europeans will come together, and they will fight him, and he will lose.
All right.
And I believe that his own people will turn on him as well, and he will lose.
Well, the salvation of the rest of the world is we the people, America's people, taking action against the president and their own government.
That's what they will do.
We talk about, you hear them talking about it on American news about civil war. Well, right now you visit America, you're going to a war zone. That's what you're going to. I appreciate your call, brother. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, man. Good night, you're on All Fronts. Good night.
Hey, man. How you doing?
Yes, sir.
Are we in the same position as Greenland? Well, somebody's colony, aren't we?
Well, yes, we are. And that's it. Greenland is a colony. I mean, they're self-governing, but they are a colony.
Yeah, but what makes me smile is, it's talking as if we're independent.
Well, that's why I keep pressing my brother. I know he likes to bring up that history of the role that we played around gunpowder, tavern, and all of that. No, sir.
Who cares about the elders or the big brother colony? The reality is we're a colony.
You are a colony, and as this man has said, you will do as you're told. That's what he said to the rest. That's what he said to the rest of the Caribbean.
Well,
Trinidad got on board right away, and he said to the others, follow suit or else.
Yeah, we're in a different position. Yeah, it was a time in history, man. The European countries used to be constantly taking islands away from each other. That's why Jamaica is no longer a Spanish country, and ended up a British country. Then of course, as time went, some of the islands became independent. They thought they put themselves in a better position than us,
right?
Because they're no longer in a position where the Trumps could come along and start deciding which colonists they want to take or fight for from another nation.
I liken this to, when I listen to so much of this and read this stuff and understand the politics of this here, in this, we've the first quarter of the 21st century is done. We're in the second quarter of the 21st century. And when we look at this here, we are literally playing out 1930s, 40s politics in the 21st century. In that the whole imperialistic politics and notions is what is the oppression of the people. And think of it. You and I have gone through a life cycle, especially when we probably came into our political understandings around age 15 to where we are now, of hearing democracy, democracy, democracy. And who did we hear it from the most? To arrive in our senior years now, hearing from the very same persons or country that indoctrinated the rest of the world with democracy.
That seems so democratic.
It does, exactly. Where dictatorship
becoming an autocracy.
There you go.
Yeah, imagine
in our lifetime. In our lifetime, we've seen it. We've seen all the cycles of it.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that in our senior years, this is what we would be observing and experiencing? After going through, after going through a life cycle of education, being told to uphold so-called democracy, and this is what you're fighting for, every other war that has been fought for democracy. Right. And the very same country that drilled it into the psyche of the people that our national security, our democracy is under threat.
Yeah, but that's one of the tactics of white supremacy too,
Yes, it is.
You know what I mean? They have many tactics, but that's one of them.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, you talk about global positioning. As far as we're concerned. Well, the reality is, as you alluded to, Great Britain could come here for strategic reasons, or the U.S. could take us for strategic reasons. But the reality is, we have very little bargaining power because we're not independent.
There you go.
To decide and determine who we want, what we want, and how we want.
And I'll say this, it appears that in this day and age, that wouldn't make a difference to any hegemonic power that saw value in what you had for themselves. It's being made clear you can't stop us.
Yeah.
So when I reflect and listen to and look at all these things in terms of who are we here, and even with what you said in terms of even the British. Like you said, we are a colony of England.
Bottom line.
We are a colony. It hasn't changed.
It doesn't take us out of that position.
No, it doesn't.
And what it does is it gives us more economic bargaining power in terms of having better relationships with our brothers and sisters to the south of us. But we're still in a precarious position when it comes to our autonomy.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And some of them people, even though we look at ourselves as better, in a better position than us.
And our autonomy, certainly in this age and time, comes under greater scrutiny with a power before us in the United States, with what we see going on in the Caribbean and what we see going on in the upper North Atlantic in Greenland. Here it is. There we are in the middle. And so, no, we do not escape any of this. The point of what's being shared, the geopolitics of the day, people, doesn't matter how far away it is from Bermuda. Bermuda, I find, is directly in the mix, in the middle of all of it. We will even hear some people will say, "Oh, not having us because Trump has his investments here tied up in Bermuda." Of course.
That's why he made one Bermuda.
Of course. Of course.
I want the country that's the reinsurance capital of the world.
Of course.
The way this guy is going, I mean, I don't know about you, but no matter how hard I try to look at this guy with some degree of intelligence, what I see is a loose cannon.
Some people think that this is, some of his stuff is far-fetched. It's not. As some organized chaos to his method or methods, right? As there is the malignant narcissism and dysfunction. And I think the people are very clear. Much of this, there's the corruption that Donald Trump has exposed of the federal government, of the Fed, right? He has also corrupted. Pure business.
Yeah.
So
now, I just hope that the strategic goings on that Brazil, what Brazil is doing, and some nations in terms of
what do you mean, BRICS?
No longer wanting to deal with the United States or recognize the U.S. dollar. The reality is Trump, through his antics, is creating a worse situation for America than a better situation, because everything is doing appears that eventually it's either going to get his way or it's all going to backfire. There's no middle ground.
Well, again,
no middle ground.
And again, with what you see, I mean, the politics, man, is so intriguing to me in this here globally, because it's clear in terms of his unilateralism, America for America first. But America for America first means that, hey, this whole Western region comes under America first. And all of you who are our backyard, you get in line.
Yeah, but remember what his motive from the beginning is. His motive from the beginning is that America is no longer waiting off.
Bottom line.
So like I said, that move by America is also embedded in white supremacy. So, I'll leave it at that,
There you go.
Everybody has their point of view, but based on what
but the facts are there. Your point of view is with the facts, and it's there. And like I said, these are things that he has stated. So it isn't gossip. It isn't assumption. He has stated it numerous times. So these are the type of people that he wants in America. And this is who we want out. And to get all you darkies out, because when you look at it, people say no, black, whites, all of them being affected by the immigration ICE controls. Yeah. But still.
And don't get me wrong, I don't think the guy is all stupid, because he, in his mind, is trying to draw out every antic and tactic he can to weaken BRICS.
Well, so much.
I don't know how that's going to be pulled off in this day and time, because basically at the end of the day, they're all nuclear countries.
Look.
And there's no real war that can
so much of this is to disrupt, and it got you all over here looking at this foreign, looking at this, but so much of this also is to disrupt elections in November.
Yeah.
To become
within his own personal realms, and also to keep himself out of jail.
all of the above, bro. All of the above. All of the above.
Yeah.
Hey.
Anyway, my brother.
All right. Appreciate you.
I've been enjoying listening there.
Yeah.
As usual,
Appreciate it.
We've heard some interesting angles tonight, I would say, from individuals.
Well, like I said, I want to at least provoke thought about these things, because we're in the mix of it all. We have our own issues that we're dealing with, yes, but our issues are global issues. And while our own politicians have the responsibility for the local politics of the day, we are very much in the mix of the global politics. And these events to the south and the north of us, they do not exempt us from the outcomes of any of these cases here.
Yeah, we're in a precarious position because we depend on the U.S. dollar.
Bottom line.
Yeah, we don't depend on another currency.
Yeah. There you go.
Anyway.
Appreciate you, my brother.
Talk to you later.
All right, take care. Some hearty conversation. It's more than food for thought. Lots of provocation and inciting in the conversation. But, we need to stay tuned. And with the events that took place today, we have our own leader of the country in Davos. We ask the question and we see about the online cyber currency or cryptocurrency. When we see these things and the leadership acting on our behalf at this particular global event, Davos, the World Economic Forum, and our current economic situation here in Bermuda, we ask the question always, how does this improve your quality of life? How is it improving your quality of life? We started off sharing the Gary Foster Skelton interview with Michael Fahey, the articles that Fahey had in the newspaper about Bermuda's position, CARICOM. It warrants a referendum. Time will tell. Greenland, to attack and not attack. Why not outright purchase it? Will there be war? Well, we are in war times. So we want to stay tuned, people, to the implications of these global events on our daily reality. And so next week, we will have in studio Dr. David Anand. And when we look at the pros and cons of the public pension fund, that too, while you think that is local, that is as global as any. And we're going to have some conversation because the implications of that has some dire consequences, I think, for Bermuda governance, for our youth, the future, our seniors, our economic standing, our knowledge management in this country. So we're going to have some conversations on this here. And it has implications even for immigration in Bermuda. Because the risk of it, we could see civil service reverting back to the days of what it was in the 60s in terms of who managed it. And we see evidence of it even right now. We will see less Bermudians at the civil service right now, which is one of the largest employers of Bermudian people. So that is going to go through a tsunami of changes. So we have Dr. David Anand next week, and we'll engage in some spirited, deep, critical conversation about the public pension fund and the implications it has for Bermuda's people, civil service, knowledge bank, all of the arrests, all of the above, I should say. So stay tuned for next week. And then, like I said, on February 4th, we will have the ambassador, David Commission, the ambassador to Barbados, on show. And I'm going to reach out to Curb because it has some implications in terms of the race issue. So I want to bring that into the discussion with Dr. David Commission and the events of CARICOM in Bermuda, the United States of the Caribbean, not far-fetched, but just a statement made by himself. So people, stay safe, be peaceful, drive safely, please, people, drive safely, right? Each one teach one, and you know how we do it. We don't fight on any one front. We fight on all fronts.
To subscribe now.